Yes, guys, I'm Si. This is Cardiff City World. Welcome to the Cymru and Byth podcast, which is your ultimate guides to Welsh football every international break or whenever there's big Welsh games. We will be here, myself and Harry, to talk about it as we come to the end of the first international break of the show, which is a bit sad. Like it feels like we're going to wait ages for the next one, but I'm sure we'll see Harry and we'll do some stuff before then. Maybe we never know. But as was last week, delighted to welcome back to the channel, introduce you if you haven't seen him before. This is Harry Trades. You can see him on YouTube. You can see him on his Harry on Wales football channel. You can also see him on his Harry Trades channel, which is, he'll tell you all about that now. But welcome back, mate. How are you?
Oh, good, mate. Yeah, buzzing to get back with you. And yeah, we've got a lot to get through, haven't we? It's been a busy, 4 or 5 days for Welsh footy, and I'm just buzzing to chat about it with you, to be honest, mate.
Yeah, there's lots to discuss, mate, and like there's a certain point which I want to get straight to with you. Just want to say before we do that, if you want to check out Harry's stuff, all the links to his stuff, both channels, everything, his socials, is all below on the YouTube description. So please do give him some support and stuff. And not that he needs it, but you know what I mean. Like check out his stuff and that.
Everyone needs it.
Very, very good. Very, very good. Which is how we came to be collaborating, because I came across Harry's Welsh channel and I was like, I like what he's doing. I'm going to give him a message, and here we are talking Welsh football. But the one thing I wanted to kind of a bit of a callback to last week. I asked you last week, would you be happy with another 4 points from these two games? Your answer last week was something along the lines of yes, but no, essentially. How do you feel now?
Yeah, so I think you're right. I gave you a bit of a wishy-washy answer, I think, didn't I, for the 4 point
I never said wishy-washy. I never said
No. I'll describe it like that myself.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just think I think I said I'd take 4 points, but I don't think I'd be satisfied with it. And yeah, it's come to fruition, right? We've got the 4 points. We're unbeaten. We had, his first home win, as in Bellamys, and obviously a clean sheet. I think in the manner that we drew the first game, if it was like we were 2-0 down in the first half, we ended up coming back, and I know it all ends up being the same thing, obviously 1 point, then maybe I'd feel a little bit happier with the 4 point side. But I think in the manner that we ended up not winning that first game, I still feel a little bit down overall, if I'm being honest. Not that there's a billion positives that we're going to get into, but I do feel a little bit oh man, we were so close to getting 6 points there, so close, and we still haven't. I think we have maybe since the last game, we still haven't fixed the whole second half problem, which we'll definitely get into. But we'll take it, right? I think I'll just end it on that. We'll definitely take the 4 points, but I am a tiny bit just we were so close to getting 6, man.
I think any game where you're 2-0 up at halftime, particularly away from home, you're disappointed in you if you don't come away with a win. I think there's a few different aspects that I'd like to jump into tactically, particularly from the Iceland game, because me and you were going back and forth throughout the Iceland game, and particularly in the first half. One of the things which I think is important to stress before we pick up on a couple of negatives and stuff is this: Wales under Craig Bellamy has straight away become an enjoyable experience. There's some stresses in there, of course there is, because we're Welsh and we want the team to win. But I think scoring goals away from home, for instance, is so massive, and it's exciting to see. I think the one thing, at halftime, I think I said something to you along the lines of, literally now you just want to see them kind of shut up a little bit and then just hit them on the break, because the gaps will come. Unfortunately, it's a very young team, and I think they struggled a little bit with it in the second half. And ironically, in the second game, we had Joe Allen, who came on at halftime or just after halftime and did that exact role. And I did feel sorry for Ollie Cooper, because I thought Ollie Cooper had a real good game against Iceland. But I think he got a little bit exposed. I thought Jordan James, I wouldn't say lost his head, but he got frustrated. And just as a team generally in the second half, there was very big spaces between the defence, the midfield. There was big spaces, But then again, and this is something I've talked about with Risa at Cardiff, like he's a young manager. You've got to learn from your mistakes. And I think straight away on the Monday, you could see the second half, Wales was so much more compact. They obviously had the experience of Joe Allen to bring on, but even before that, straight away from halftime, everything was closer together. All the spaces had been closed, and it automatically makes you more difficult to play against. I think we gave Iceland too much space, and for the one or two real good players they've got in those attacking positions, that's like a dream, you know, especially at home. The crowd gets up, and they came out as fast in that second half. But on the positive note, first half, I thought we were excellent. We both said Brennan Johnson's definitely going to score. He did.
Come on.
It was like from 6 inches, but you know,
You take him, though, didn't
it was a goal.
Yeah.
But kind of talk to me a little bit about like what I just said. Like we'll get into the subs and some of the other stuff in a minute, but you know, it's up to you if you want to go first half and then second half, or just go with respond to what I said. You
Yeah. No, I made quite a few notes whilst, like you said, we were obviously WhatsApping. I've got notes in my little notepad here from first half and second. I'm just sort of going over them and looking over, you know, what was what was sort of mentioned. And like the obvious thing is, you know, the Wilson fucking Nico connection, man. Like what is, I know obviously they played at Liverpool together and stuff, and there's obviously a deep connection there, both from like the Wrexham way and whatever, but like those balls that Nico's playing into Harry Wilson, man. Like, and you know, the interesting thing about that, Nico probably doesn't get to play those balls if he's playing right back, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because the angle's just a bit different. And not to say he couldn't do it, but the angle that Wilson would be running on would be different. It'd obviously be flipped. So I think first off, we obviously went back, you know, with a back four, a back five, sorry, technically, because I heard Bellamys say, so one of the interviewers, one of the journalists mentioned like on Nico's position, and Bellamys was like, he didn't play left wing back, he played left centre back, which he did. He played in the back three, and he said, you know, he has that sort of ball that can just relieve so much pressure and part of our sort of front plays in on goal. Did it twice, got a goal twice from it. That was just unbelievable as just sort of a player. I thought Sorba was obviously the left wing back, but I thought Sorba was really quiet the first half. That's what I've got in my notes. He didn't really do too much. He came alive towards the end of the first half, but everything went down Brennan's side, which I'm not mad about. We got a goal from that side. You know, it was all about, you know, trying to get Wilson on the ball in space. Can we find Brennan? And then there was attacks sort of developing from there. And yeah, I thought everything worked quite well first half. I mean, we're 2-0 up. How better can it get? So, do you know what I mean? Like, you can't ask for much more, like you said. You're 2-0 up away from home in Iceland. You bite your hand from that. You know, bite your hand off for that. I said I thought we'd win that game 2-0. You know, I was looking good for a half, but obviously, you know, it kind of capitulated, didn't it, in the second? And yeah, was that more us fatiguing? I'd say probably, yeah. But don't get me wrong, Iceland came out all guns blazing. They made a few halftime subs. We were forced to make the Brennan halftime sub. We were a bit shocked at that, but it looks like he took a little knock apparently. So that was maybe the reasoning behind Bellamy's substitution of him. I mean, I don't want to dig players out like individually and stuff, but I thought Wes Burns coming on for him was shocking, in my opinion, that game. He was very positive on Monday, and we'll definitely get into that. But I thought he was, I just thought he was lost. First game back for Wales. I get it, like, you know, coming back from injury, I'm not sort of just hammering him here, but he looked really bad. Like, to the point where I was like, this is not good. It's never easy coming on half time. I'll give it to him. Like, it ain't easy. Away from home, he's set up to like not exactly succeed in a lot of ways there, and to fill Brennan's boots. I know they played separate sides and it was a different sort of system or whatever, but I don't know. I just think Bellamy, as far as the second half goes, I'm looking at, we made 3 subs, side. Why aren't we making 5? And why aren't we making maybe 2 at halftime? And, or, you know, to match, I know he doesn't know what Iceland are necessarily going to do until they come out, but Jesus, man, like you said, we really lacked something in midfield, i.e. a bit of composure, a bit of nous, and a bit of experience. And unfortunately, Ollie Cooper and Jordan James don't offer that. But I thought they were great. Like, no one really played hard. We just didn't have a midfield, did we, in a weird way? Like, there was just there's no one there to sort of carry the ship and do the Ampadu role, do that 6 role that we saw Josh Sheehan do on Monday. Of course, it's a lot easier to do on fucking Monday night against, you know, at home to Montenegro. But I thought he was still excellent. But I'm just surprised that 1, the subs he brought on, and 2, the lack of other subs he didn't bring on. You know what I mean? Like, you know, not bringing on a Mark Harris or even a Sheehan, knowing how well he played on Monday. I know that's after the fact. Kumas didn't even get a minute. Even going Mepham and going like 5 at the back, actual 3 centre halves, going Nico left wing back, Connor right wing back. I was just really surprised in the way he dealt with Iceland's attack onslaught, and evidently it didn't work, did it? If we're being honest.
Yeah, it was a bit puzzling, especially when you look at it and you like. I thought Cabango came on and did a real good job. Actually,
he did. Yeah.
He deserved to start the game then on Monday off the back 100%. Of that anyway. But then I was puzzled, like you had Norrington Davis on back in, who's a very good fullback or wing back, and then you look at like David Brooks, how he played on Monday, quite direct and pacey. You're thinking like, would he have been a good replacement to still give us the, the attacking threat on the counter maybe? But then 100%. Maybe David Brooks didn't have 2 games in him coming back from a long time out and stuff. Same with Josh Sheen and Mark Harris. They did very well on the Monday. And then you kind of thinking, well, why weren't they used on the Friday? Ultimately, though, mate, before this Nations League started, we'd have taken 8 points from 4 games.
100%.
8 points from 4 games. You would have taken it.
Yeah,
it's just because the good has been so good that
expectations are there.
Evan's just put in the comments like it's mad to think we're being critical now and we're on an unbeaten run, and I think that's important.
I know.
Bellamys has raised the standards so much in a short space of time, but he has made Wales enjoyable to watch. Sort of lastly on that Iceland game, because I want to talk about a few sort of tactical things. I mentioned I thought Cabango was really good. Interestingly, mate, when we sort of talked about the preview and that, we talked about the age of the Iceland squad and the youth of the Welsh squad. The average age of the first 11 of Iceland was 26. The average age of the Welsh 11 was 27, because they actually ended up, like obviously Sigurdsson was on the bench and a couple of other experienced players were on the bench. And I wonder whether that was almost intentional by the Icelandic side of things to go young, not young, but younger in the first half, and then bring the experienced players on in the second half. Obviously not planning to be 2-0 down, but kind of...
Yeah.
Because especially when Joe Allen wasn't on the bench, we did lack like an out-and-out experienced player on the bench, like that. Yes, there's a couple on there who've got quite a lot of caps, but they're all quite young or they're coming back from injury. So it was difficult. I thought... obviously, Nico Williams very deserving of his man of the match. I thought Ben Davies was pretty good. I thought Jordan James was good in the first half. I thought he faded a little bit, probably because he got a book in and was a bit more wary of his tackles. I also thought Kiefer Moore was a kind of unsung hero in that game, because he was sacrificing himself, dropping into the sort of 10 role to allow Harry Wilson or Brennan Johnson or whoever to break the lines. So he wasn't getting necessarily those one-on-one chances that we were created in the first half, but he was very much a part of the movement that created it. And look, Harry Wilson I thought he's been good for Wales anyway, but I thought across the 4 under Bellamy, but particularly in these 2 games, I thought Harry Wilson absolutely shone. And I was actually disappointed when he went off against Montenegro, because I felt like he was still having an impact. But he's clearly managing the squad and he's trying to give everybody an opportunity to shine. And he's still getting points while doing it. So I think he deserves credit for that. Moving on to the Monday, mate, I was interested. I had a little Twitter exchange with someone this morning, I think it was, where there was kind of people talking about some of the people in the crowd who were in the first half, where before we'd scored, were kind of criticizing us for being negative and for setting up defensively and passing side to side. And I was just like, well, our team against Montenegro was so attacking, like it was genuinely quite just the setup was genuinely attacking. Just the way it was set up. Obviously only had the 3 defenders, but also in possession it literally went to a 2-3-5 straight away. So I was a bit puzzled by that, like how anyone could sort of say that it was a defensive lineup. Like I thought it was very attacking, and look, it should have been. And I think if we're being honest, particularly in the first half, we deserved more than just the one goal, but we did very well to make sure that we didn't concede in that second half when Montenegro did come out a little bit more feisty and get to it. So first of all, mate, what did you make of that lineup that he went with for the Montenegro game?
So yeah, like you said, way more attacking is the obvious one. He went with one recognised six out of the three midfielders of Cullen, Wilson, and Sheehan, which is as attacking as it gets, right? But that's perfect. We don't need two sixes. It is, yeah. I can't really recall this. It's always been an Ampadu, Jordan James. Like they can always do the 6'8" type of thing. Whereas Wilson and Cullen are literally both 8'10" wingers. Like they're not sixes. They're nowhere near that, which is fine because we didn't need them. We had Josh Sheehan.
Like either
not
of them,
really, no, not really, no. But in a game like this, because there's so much possession, they're never going to need to go box to box, really, is it? Because first half, mate, we had 74% possession.
Crazy, that, isn't it?
74%, 4 big chances created, 8 shots to their 1, 6 corners, 350 passes. Like, that deserves probably 2 goals, really. 4 big chances. You think you'd score, 1 or 2 of them. I know we scored the pen. But yeah, mate, like you said, it was literally 2 centre-backs. It was Cabango and Rodin on the edge of the halfway line. Ben Davies was sort of high left. Nico was flying up on the right. And then the rest of the lads were literally just trying to pull them out of positions defensively to try and, create overloads and get chances. And I honestly thought Wes Burns was quite good. Like, I think...
He started slow, didn't he? And then he kind of
slow. But some of those runs, mate, he's so powerful. Like, I didn't realise how athletic he is, because I know Bellamys mentioned it, like, his athleticism is going to be really vital for us, and I've not really seen it before to that extent. And, okay, no disrespect, he's playing against Montenegro, but, like he is, like, rapid to the point where, like, it's so direct. Sorba obviously offers a very similar type of play on the left. So they're similar players in many ways. I don't think we could ever use Wes Burns as, like, a defensive, like, left wing back. He's a left winger for me, left midfielder all day. Not that he can't defend, but I think you just want him running up players and causing a bit of danger. He whipped in a few balls. I thought he was dangerous. I didn't think he was unbelievable. I wasn't overly impressed with Liam Cullen personally. There's a couple of good flicks and stuff. I thought he was fine. I wasn't like, wow, this kid's unbelievable. Like, he had a big chance missed. He lost 7 duels. I know we're going into the stats here, which might not, be everyone's cup of tea, but, like, he didn't have a good game if we're talking stats. Like, he made 19 accurate passes in 89 minutes.
But do you know what? I agree with you, mate, completely, just to jump in on that. And I agree with you. And I use, like, stats as well, the same as you, mate. But what I would say is he set the tempo in terms of his pressing and work rate so that never dropped. And at the time, I was a little bit disappointed. I think I said to you, like, I couldn't really understand why it was Harry Wilson who went off and not Cullen at the point he did. But I think it was probably that that even Harry Wilson there's so many great things and he works hard, but he probably hasn't got that explosiveness in the press. And I think I'd be interested. Did you say I don't know if you've got it to hand how many times Cullen won the ball back? Because I feel like he won the ball back quite a few titimes.
I don't have recoveries on here. There might, if I go over to, I'll find out for you now, though.
Yeah, because I feel like him and Wes Burns and Mark Harris, I feel, and this is where it's interesting, the eye test versus the stats, but it feels like them 3 won the ball back a lot in that first half.
No, so you're right. The press was class. Like, I could never say anything otherwise, but let's have a look. Lineups, Cullen, so... He had 1 shot, 19 passes. He dispossessed only once, fair enough. 3 recoveries, defensive actions 8. So yeah, he was busy. He was definitely busy for like an attacking player. You're right. Yeah, he definitely did that side of the game. But like, if you got 74% possession in the first half, he should be all over that. In that, like, he should be, 40 passes worth of action. To have 19 over the 90 minutes is quite shocked at that. I didn't think it was that low. Where you look at someone like Sheehan, I know he's starting to play a bit more. He had 78 passes, 78 accurate passes, 86 all in all. So I'm just look. it was an interesting one where, like, because you have so much possession, it gets spread out a lot, and that's probably why he hasn't touched the ball as much as you'd maybe think. But like, yeah, the same amount of touches or accurate passes as Wes Burns, which I think's, you know, as a more central player, you'd like to have thought you'd have been a bit busier, I think, or just a bit more, involved. Like, I was just quite shocked at that. Wilson had double, so that just gives you a rough estimate at what we're talking with here. But like 4 key passes for Wilson, we know how involved he was and massive he was. I don't know. I just thought, for me, I probably would have went with something like, not that it didn't work, like we won the game, and I'm not saying Cullen didn't play well, but like, go Di Brooks in the 10. And why didn't we play like, why didn't we give a Broadhead or a Sorba? I know Sorba started the other game, but because we do have quite a few wingers, Kumas, Broadhead, wingers 10s now, Kumas, Broadhead, and Sorba all on the bench. I thought maybe, across the front 3, go, Wes Burns one side, Brooks, floating in the middle alongside Wilson. I know Brooks is great as a winger as well. I'm not saying he's not, but I just thought we could have had a little bit more directness between like Wes Burns and Sorba, and then having Brooks and Wilson in the middle, mate, floating. And imagine that. Like, how are you supposed to defend against Brooks and Wilson getting into pockets? I know they're both left-footed. But then so's Cullen, actually. So, no, I'm just saying they're all left. Like, Wilson and Cullen are both left-footed, and Brooks. So there was a lot of lefties on that field last night. No, Monday night.
Were you surprised that Lewis Kumas didn't get any minutes across the 2 games?
Oh, you've got to be, haven't you? You've got to be scratching your head, haven't you? Thinking, one, if there's a little niggle, then whatever, but he shouldn't be in the squad if there's niggles. So it shouldn't be that, because we saw Joe Allen wasn't in the squad for the first game, so there was clearly something up there. Mate, how ain't you getting a minute? I'm really worried there, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I know there was an element of capping him to make sure that you had him and stuff. I do get that, but then if that's the case, play him in the well. When you look at what happened with the 21s, mate, and I will talk about that a little bit later, because that was absolutely shambolic, I got to say. And I feel for those players, because a lot of those main players like Owen Beck and Ruben Colwell, and they can't play for the 21s anymore. I was a little bit surprised, actually, because I thought that there was at least a chance that Bellamy might add Ruben and Beck and a few of those 21s onto the bench for this game, just because I think I said it in my preview, like, you could kind of having more creative options on the bench is better, and no matter like who it is. But it was interesting. I want to ask you about the goalkeeper situation. He changed them again, but he kind of reversed it. So Danny Ward played the away game, and Carl Darlow played the home game. I actually thought, this is only my opinion from the eye test, I haven't looked at any of the stats or anything yet, I felt like Danny Ward was slightly better of the 2. I thought Darlow looked a little bit nervous with his passing this time round. But actually, you said that Danny Ward with his feet is the better keeper, I think. Or like, he had done better with his feet. And Darlow had looked a bit sharper with his shot stopping. Was there any change to your view on the kind of the 2 of them and where they stand? He's given them both a fair go, isn't he, before the World Cup qualifiers?
Yeah. I got to respect that, haven't you? You got to respect that as a keeper, as a manager that does, is new and has a new keeper to utilize. Yeah, you got to give him a fair shot. And I do respect it. I didn't think he would flip it, but on hindsight, it makes sense that, give Darlow a chance on the carpet. I do get that, because Ward had his chance at Cardiff City Stadium in the first round of games. So I do get it. I was a little bit shocked, because away game, I really thought Darlow probably makes a bit more sense there. But if he's going off giving Darlow a chance at home, then I completely get it. As far as the stats go in that Danny Ward game, in the first game, Ward made 86% of his passes, which, away to Iceland ain't bad. I know, he ended up getting an own goal. Actually,
well,
they did, yeah. There was a few like ones where you're like, he stitched them up there a little bit, and like, it happens. Like, but overall, I was quite relaxed watching Danny Ward with the ball at his feet again, and this time away. With Darlow at home, mate, only made 72% of his accurate passes at home.
He went long, though, didn't he? Quite a lot.
He did, yeah, but they weren't coming off, though, were they?
No.
Because okay, fair enough. Danny Ward had Kiefer Moore to aim for, so you're going to win more of those. You're going to get more accurate passes if Kiefer Moore's making the headers and winning his duel. Whereas, no disrespect, Darlow's got to play up to Mark Harris, who's obviously not as big. Yeah, so you can't expect those stats maybe to look as as good as maybe Ward's did because he didn't have Kiefer. I think that definitely changes things. But he made 30% of his long balls, 5 out of 15, which this is Darlow now. So yeah, you were right. He did go long a lot. It didn't really work too much. I never felt like, oh wow, like he's really shaky here. It just like the balls just weren't actually going to the intended target, which can happen. It's not necessarily always his fault. It's the receiver as well.
Yeah, of course. I just had a look at the average position of Wales as a team against Montenegro, and it was exactly what we said. It was a 2-3-5, and the two were like on the halfway line almost. So the average position of the team was very high up the pitch, 5 across the front. So I think anyone who's saying that it was a defensive lineup or defensive they don't quite understand the way the football is played, to be honest with you. But it is what it is, social media, isn't it, I guess.
Yeah.
What I want to know from you, mate, is over these 2 games, outside of your Nico Williams, Ben Davies, people like this, Harry Wilson, who are going to play, who do you think kind of impressed and has thrown their hat in the ring to start the next lot of games?
Great question, mate. The first name that comes to mind, obviously, we had 7 changes for that second game, so not everyone played both. So, it's quite hard to, give a definitive answer because we haven't seen the guy I'm going to mention play away from home necessarily. But mate, it's got to be Josh Sheehan for me. It's got to be.
Yeah. Very impressive.
Mate,
the problem for him is, of course, is Jordan James
Ethan.
and Ampadu.
Right.
It's
but
it is what it is.
It's a tough one though, mate, because in that second game where you don't need Ampadu and Jordan James realistically in a game like Montenegro at home. Okay, Turkey away, different story. Yeah, we probably go with a double pivot there, obviously, if we had them both available. But mate, Josh Sheehan as a singular 6 and allowing 2 8s to kind of push on in Cullen and Wilson. Mate, there's nobody I'm not just saying that, there's nobody as technically as sound as Josh Sheehan is off both feet. Ampadu's in the conversation, obviously. Like Ampadu's playing championship football, captain of league. So I'm not saying he's better than Ampadu. But from what I saw and his comfortability on the ball, there ain't many better than him, mate. I'm telling you. Like off both feet, the way he can distribute it and he just pops it off. And, he's obviously not as athletic and big as an Ampadu. He doesn't have the same amount of, overall midfield ability. But Josh Sheehan on the ball in a home game, I think is as effective as it gets for us as a 6. Not saying Ampadu can't do it.
Definitely, I could see
the single pivot, mate. I think he can do it. I really do.
But also, what you can do is, if you're going to play with a single pivot, is I'm going to go against what I actually believe is the best thing, because I've said all along I don't want Ampadu to play as centre back because I think he gives us something in midfield that others don't. But what you could do if you wanted to play a single pivot is you could have Josh Sheehan as the single pivot. You could have Ampadu as one of the centre backs and just have him push up into midfield and have that bit of freedom to really push us on. So there's always that option. I thought Cabango threw his hat in the ring. He's someone who I think is supremely talented, actually, and I think he needs to. I would like to see him get his chance now at the Welsh team level, because he's got obviously age on his side. His stats were pretty good. I thought he was pretty secure. There was one little thing where he kind of put it out for a throw in, and you could see the bench was frustrated that he didn't bring it down. But also, I think, yes, he's got to be aware of his surroundings, but that's also on his teammates to tell him he's got the time to bring it down. And, ultimately, you'd rather a defender, if he's not sure, put it out for a throw or get rid so that we can reset, than try and bring it down, get dispossessed because he didn't know there was someone behind him. And I thought overall, he was real good. And I would like to see a young centre-back in there. Like, personally, my preferred centre-back pairing at the moment would be him alongside Ben Davies. That's not to necessarily say that Rodon or anyone else has done anything wrong. I would just like to see the younger player with the captain, or one of the most experienced Welsh players there is. I also, I quite like Nico Williams off the left because he's got those balls to go in the right. But I think Connor Roberts, I felt a bit sorry for Connor Roberts because he hasn't played a lot of football, and he got caught out a little bit positionally and in some one-on-ones and stuff. But yeah, he hasn't played a lot of football, so you've got to give these players some time. And Like some of them are not match fit, and I wonder if part of Craig Bellamy's thing is like not just giving them all a chance, but it's also trying to manage those players. Because we got a lot of players who are like coming back from injury or coming back from a long time out. And if you just eat, one of the things when I spoke to him before was that he was very keen on was when players go back to their clubs, is they're not running to the ground.
Yeah.
So, like for instance, say Aaron Ramsey had been available for Wales now, but he hasn't played for Cardiff for weeks, and then they play him for 2 games, and he comes back on Saturday injured for Cardiff because he's played 2 games in a row. You know, it's like one of those things, but ultimately he's obviously got to do what's right for Wales. Who else do I think? I thought Cullen. I thought he did all right. And maybe it's like, I'm going to say this now and people will go, oh, you're just saying that because you're a Cardiff fan. But like, I don't really understand what he offers that Ruben Colwell doesn't. And I think Ruben Colwell offers some things that Liam Cullen doesn't. The one thing I would say the difference is maybe in Cullen's favour is he's got that kind of explosive pace in the press, particularly. Whereas Ruben, because he's a big boy, he'll take like a few yards to get going. But I think like it's a tremendous opportunity. If I'm sure we'll see the two of them play together at some point soon in the next few years. And I think it's an exciting time for Wales because the group that's coming through now into the first team is super exciting. Like Evans put in the comments there, Welsh teams need to plan 3 years ahead now. Our youth is the best it's been, especially teams like Newport Wrexham could make a serious profit from growing and selling their youth players. And there's a lot of those young players coming through. Like you look at the 21s and there's some serious talent in there. You look at the 19s, mate, and there is some incredible talent coming through. So I don't think we'll be short of players who can do things. What we need at the moment is we need your Harry Wilsons, your David Brooks, Kiefer Moores, Ben Davis, etc., to really take us on with those young players coming in around them, so that when those players do finish up, the young players are ready. Like Harry Wilson is ready now, like David Brooks is ready now, because they came through, you know, with your Joe Allens and your Ramseys and the rest of it. Do you know what I mean? It's like a cycle, isn't it? You got to implement those young players, and I think Craig Bellamy, you can see like he's looking to do that as well.
Yeah, he's not stupid, is he? He knows the bloodline as far as, you know, all the positions. Like when he said when he took over the job, I think he said in an interview where like he had a depth chart of every position, and it's like, okay, well, I have 10 left wingers, 9 right wingers, whatever. But he said the position we were really short in was obviously 6 throughout the age groups. But there's a kid obviously in the under 21s at Leeds right now. I have to think of his name. Let me get it up now. Charlie Crew.
Charlie Crew. Yeah, he's unbelievable.
He's supposed to be. Well, I have watched him play for the 18s a couple of months ago, and he looked very good. He's obviously a little bit, you know, on the skinnier side of things. He's a kid right now. You know, when he fills out a little bit, he's gonna be our 6 for 10 years. Basically, is what it looks like. He's like a Michael Carrick type. But his progressive passes are like off the charts. Like he's finding pockets where you know normal footballers don't find, right?
Yeah. You got Joel Cottrell, who's a real player. You've got Joel Colwell, who some think he's going to be better than his brother. You've got obviously Zach Giggs, who's really versatile. These are young guys. Don't get me wrong; like they're very, very young at the moment, but they're already doing well. Like Zach Giggs is only not long turned 18, like a couple of days ago. They're young guys, but
Charlie Savage as well.
Charlie Savage, yeah. Like just on with Zach Giggs, mate. Like I think he'll start playing for Sheffield United soon, whether it's off the bench or whatever. Like so, they're going to get first team football, like Charlie Crew is, like Ethan Ampadu, and once they start playing first team football, I think that's going to benefit Wales massively. Like I was a big proponent this year of keeping Joel Colwell, because I looked at Cardiff squad and I thought, oh, I think he might get some game time here, because there's a couple in there, especially now we've changed manager, but they let him go on loan. He's doing very well, but he's like a real player. There's so much talent there, and it'll be interesting how we navigate it, because obviously the Ryan Giggs before Robert Page, kind of got rid of a lot of the older players and went with the youth. Whereas I think for Craig Bellamy, I think he's a bit luckier in that the older players are still very, very capable, like Ben Davies, and he's brought back Joe Allen. I thought that was a bit of a masterstroke, mate, because I think when I looked at Montenegro in that second half for the first 5-10 minutes, I was like, oh, this could get a bit twitchy. But after Joe Allen came on, I thought it was relatively comfortable. And I think that's a massive shout to him, because that was something that we addressed over the 2 games that we needed in a better second half performance. And with a young team, it takes time, doesn't it, to for those players to get used to the pressure of those games. And playing Iceland's not it's cold, mate, and it's raining, and it's not nice. It's worse 100%. Than Wales, in weather-wise. Talk to me about the 21s thing, mate, because hang on, just before we do that, there's one more thing I want to talk about the first team. Sorry, mate.
Okay.
So, did you see the interview? He said it a few times with Craig Bellamy, basically saying he doesn't want these players to feel like he did as a player. And he used an example of the Ireland game where he played up front on his own, touched the ball 3 times, and after the game was crying, and not one member of staff or anyone kind of, apologized or looked after him or whatever. And he said he doesn't want these young players. And I think you can see that, and they look so together, mate, this Welsh group. I think I'm excited by it. And I know we've picked out like a few little bits and stuff.
Yeah, but you've got to, haven't you? Yeah. Bring us back down to earth, because it can't all be sunshine and rainbows. But mate, I did see that interview, and it kind of touched me a little bit, because that kind of reminds me of, like, I mean, I'm 27 now, but like when I was like playing football at 17, 18, in Wales, whatever, in sort of like, in the Welsh league, like it's tough, as in, like, you get a hairdryer treatment type of thing, but like that doesn't seem to exist anymore in football, which I think is good. Like, I would have loved to have come around and played football this time, in this sort of generation, like 10 years on or whatever. And I just think, game's different now. Bellamy understands that, although he's quite old school in some of his ways. He's still very modern in the philosophy he wants to play football in. And I'm just buzzing to have a manager that wants to dominate football. Like, it's so exciting.
It's something we're not used to, is it? As Welsh fans, like going and dominating games and possession, like that's something which is new. And the thing which excites me about Craig Bellamy, I gotta be honest, and I said this even before he played a game, after spending that couple of hours with him, was that tactically, like, he's so switched on and he's so progressive in the way he thinks. In that, look, we're setting up pretty much what like Pep sets up in, like that 2-3 single pivot, 2 number 10s playing as 8s, and he's clearly been influenced. And obviously, like at club level, he worked with Company. One of their analysts was one of Pep's analysts and stuff like that. So there's a massive influence from that. He's been with Company in Belgium and Burnley and stuff like that. So he's going to have that influence. But I also do think he's got that old school mentality to certain things. And I also think that if there's ever a time where he feels that these players haven't put a shift in, or they haven't done what they've been doing in these first 4 games, I think he's got it in him to have a bit of a hairdryer or whatever you want to call it. We all know he's got it in him from his playing days, 100%. But I think it's also has more of an impact if you're not doing it every other game. And so as players, they know, well, if he's going,
you fucked
we probably deserve him, It's interesting though, mate, because he's clearly been influenced by his own experiences as well. And I think that's kind of interesting, because one of my gripes with modern football is that I feel like you don't see like those street footballers much, where they go out and they just express themselves. It feels like everything is very coached. And I was listening to
system-based
very quickly, mate. I was listening to Rio Ferdinand the other day, and he was saying his son, I think, at Brighton, and he sat down and watched like an old United game with his son, and he said, what what do you think is different? And he said, well, you all just look like you go out and play and you're kind of left to work it out yourself, whereas we're told and we're given like almost every example of what might happen in a game, and if this happens you do this, and if this happens you do this. And I don't know where I stand with it, because technically obviously you see the benefits of it. Like look at Wales, like a small nation being able to dominate games. But then sometimes I look at some players and I think, like even a Harry Wilson, like, you know, if he was just given the freedom of what some players have had in the past, would he be even better? Or is it because he's come through the system of being coached and that sort of side of it? Is that why he's also so good? So it's a bit strange, isn't it? Like, but I would like to see some street football, mate. I think is the gist of it.
Oh, mate. You've hit the nail on the head there. This is one of my biggest. We haven't really spoken about this before, we really together, but yeah, that's not why I don't love football still, because I do love football, but like, and this comes from like a personal experience, because I was that, not to say like that was my game. Like I love just doing something out of nothing. As far as like beat a player or two and you put it in the top corner, like that was my game. It wouldn't come off every time, but that was just how I loved to play football, and that was what that's how I had joy playing football. And then over the years, you get coached in academies, and like the biggest thing for me, this stems back years ago, mate, because I was at Bristol City Academy as a kid to bring it back a little bit. And at the time, they were a lot more forward thinking in their coaching compared to Cardiff now. So like Cardiff have been renowned over the years to be quite robotic in their like coaching methodology, right? And it's probably showed in the first team, yeah, if we're being honest. And this is come through years and years ago, like 15 years ago almost now, and more. And there was always like a big difference between like if you're playing for Bristol and if you're playing for Cardiff. Like there was just players just did things differently. Players looked like robots playing for Cardiff, and then players who played for other teams, not just Bristol but other academies, they just felt like it was a bit more free flowing and a bit more sort of like you just had the freedom to kind of do whatever you wanted in certain areas of the pitch, not everywhere. And I think over the years they've kind of maybe dispelled it a little bit. Like I've got a friend who's a fitness coach now at Cardiff, and he talks really highly about Joe Colwell and whatever. Like it does seem like it's definitely changed. Like it has for the better, that is. But we're still not seeing many people come through Cardiff City Academy really outside of like Ruben and basically it.
Yeah,
Really,
I think they've got a crop now of like 5, 6,
now they
7.
do, yeah. Like Louis, you got Louis Giles. There's like a good little group now.
It's interesting, mate, because I actually think we could end up at Cardiff, depending on who ends up being the manager. If you noticed against like Bristol recently, they gave, particularly in the first half, Ruben Colwell was kind of just allowed to do that and do it, and he's so effective at it. So if you build a team around that, where you've got the right defensive players behind him, just let him go play and create and do stuff. I think that's interesting. But also from a Welsh point of view, long term, I look at it and I think we're seeing less and less number 9s, like out and out number 9s. And I wonder whether, and this is obviously there's no way of knowing but I wonder if in like 5 years' time we see something like a Ruben Colwell as a false 9 for Wales, with people like Wilson and Cullen behind him pulling the strings and being aggressive and running beyond him. Your David Brookses and people like that. Because I don't see, just in football generally, and obviously Wales is a small country, there's not many like genuine old school number 9s who can be a focal point. They're all wingers, stroke number 10s, stroke like
inside forwards, basically. Yeah.
It's a strange one because obviously the obvious one is Haaland at the moment at Man City, but there's not many. And
there's not.
You look at it and you think, well, when Kiefer Moore, now he's probably got a few years left in him at international level, who's going to be the 9 then? Mark Harris, I thought, did a very good job on Monday. And I thought he deserved a goal. He was inches away from that one. Lewis Kumas, maybe. I think he'll probably fill out a little bit now over the next year or two. Feels like he's got the skill set. It's just whether he physically comes into his body, because they're so young, mate. Some of these guys, like, they've still got to come into their bodies a bit, like, right. 21s, mate, absolute shambolic. And it cost them qualification because obviously they went on to lose the game, having to play with all their preparation, their set pieces, their patterns was out the window because 6 players couldn't play, and they lost the game. They basically played a lot of under 18s, like Joel Colwell played, not Benjamin, who was it? Well, a couple of the 18s played, which is a big ask because the the Czechs did get their paperwork in right, so they played the players who would have been in the first team, because both teams did it. They brought all their strong players from the first team back to the 21s to win the game. Wales just couldn't play. The Czechs won. Then they went on and won again, which cost, Wales were not able to qualify then. And it's such a shame because they were on the brink of making history. And but speak to me about that, mate.
Yeah, I only saw it because they played the same day as the first team on Friday, no?
Yes.
Was that right?
Yeah, they played
Was it? So yeah, I saw the news break on Twitter and stuff, and I was a bit sort of flabbergasted. Like I didn't really understand what was going on, but it was obviously like an admin error, right? That meant that
yes.
6 or so players didn't play, and it obviously cost us. We lost the game 2-1. Yeah, mate, I don't know. Really weird. I saw the manager come out and say like, yeah, we're gutted or whatever. I saw the chief executive of Wales. I can't think. Neil Mooney. Is it Neil Mooney?
No Mooney. Yeah.
Noel Mooney. He came out and said like, yeah, it's obviously a massive error. We're gutted and whatever. But like, all you can do at that point is say that. Like, you can't go back in time, obviously. But like, how is that happening, mate, at 21's level? No disrespect, but I don't know. I just think, like, is it somebody in the office, do we think, or is it somebody that, was in and around the 21's team, if that makes sense? Because I've been, like, when I was 19 or 20, when I was in uni, I did my internship at the FAW. So, like, I know the place quite well.
Mm.
And I went away with the 19s. Like, I went away with, Nico Williams, Ben Cabango. Like, I was a liaison officer. So I get, like, what was happening. I had the team sheets. Like, I was kind of, I don't know who it was. Like, I don't know. I don't know who works there anymore, in that sense. And I'm not calling anyone out or anything. But, like, I don't know. It just seems like a very, very, just poor management.
Yeah, it's weird because I think over the last, 10 years or so, the Welsh FA has clearly made an effort to be a more professional, or maybe even longer than that. I forget when the actual changes came in, but there was a change to make it more professional overall. And this just seems like such a 25 years ago era sort of thing, like it just feels like something which would happen when you don't know who's doing what and what their roles are. It just feels strange. And I feel so sorry for Matt Jones because what he's done such a tremendous job. But I feel sorry for the likes of Ruben Colwell, for Owen Beck, because their 21s is done now. Really, like they're not old; they were too old in the next campaign, and they were on the brink of it. They won that game on Friday. There was a very, very good chance that they would qualify because the results were it looked pretty good. And I don't know what it's difficult, isn't it? Because you don't look. I said this on one of my other shows the other day. You've got to talk about it, and you've got to say that it is shambolic. But I don't want someone to lose their job because the social media thing has gone massive, and some of the people people just get a bit carried away with it. And look, I get it. Like ultimately, it's this type of mistake which may lead to someone losing their job. But you'd like to think that they would take responsibility as an organization and as a group rather than hang one person out to dry. But you just don't know, because we don't know the ins and outs of it. Like, if it could be down to one person not doing what they were told or how they were told, or whatever it may be. It's just one of those things. I feel for the players, and most of all I feel for Matty Jones, mate. I've got to be honest. It's
out of control, isn't it? It's one of them where, like, as a manager,
you want it to be on the pitch, don't you? You want it
yeah. I'm looking at SofaScore here, mate. They've gone down the Ruben played. He didn't play, did he?
He didn't. No, and that's what I mean. The lineup was named, so I think it was in total Ruben, Owen Beck, Kian. I'm not sure if Kian Ashford was one of them or if he played or not. But effectively, we ended up like Joel played, and I don't know if he was supposed to play. So it's a strange.
Joel Cottrell started. Joel Colwell didn't play, it looks like.
Yeah, I thought that's what I mean. I think it changed like really late on in the.
Yeah.
This obviously came out like an hour before kickoff because they initially named the side with all these players in.
Right. Yeah.
Let me see if I can bring up the full list. Admin error. But it's right. There you go, BBC. So Sandy didn't give a full list. The names Ruben Colwell and Owen Beck as the Wales's chances were hindered by an admin error that saw them lose. Among others, senior international squad members Ruben Colwell and Owen Beck, just hours before they were beaten by the Czech Republic. Yeah, so they lost, several players, but obviously those two would stand out. But there was a kind of whole host of them. Just trying to find like the full list.
Mental, that is mental.
Yeah, it's they're gonna have they said they're gonna have a rigorous review and stuff, but
I'm just trying to think back to when
tough to take it.
Yeah, because I remember doing that Croatia game. It was obviously years ago now, so I don't remember exactly because I had these team sheets and I can't remember if I was like putting X's to the names of our boys who were starting the game. I'm pretty sure that was on. I'm pretty sure I did that, but I don't remember exactly, so I can't.
Yeah, I don't know like exactly what it is, because it feels like if they just didn't put the team sheet in correctly, they would just redo it.
Right, yeah, that feels.
They redid it to take them out. So it feels like there must have been something else that we did, that they didn't do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it must be, because they came down, didn't they? Because they must have been registered in the first team, maybe, and obviously something.
Ruben was never in the first team, was he?
Yeah,
this time round.
Ruben weren't, but Owen was, wasn't he?
Yeah, Beck was, and then he came down. Yeah, look, it is what it is.
No one knows.
And it's definitely cost them qualification. Just on the young. Oh, sorry, I thought I'd just ended the stream. The young players coming through for Wales is pretty insane. Like, for such a small nation to have the amount of young players who are now going to be pushing for a first team spot is really quite incredible. And you mentioned Louis Giles not long ago. I think he'll be playing for Cardiff's first team very soon, regularly.
He's class, isn't he?
And I'd said he should be playing already, but I think by next year or next season, I think Cardiff potentially can play, for instance, a team which is predominantly made up of under 25s. A lot of them are Welsh, which means, that's what you want, is you want your Louis Giles, your Ruben Colwell, your Joel. You want them playing regular championship football. And like Nico Williams, mate, is only 23.
I know, it's mad.
It's just like, that's insane to me, because it feels like he's late 20s. Jordan James, 20. So even the players who are already quite well established, there's a few of them who are really young. So, like, I mentioned, Ben Davis and people like that who are probably in the latter stages of their career. But we've also got Ethan Ampadu's 24, Brennan Johnson's 23, Jordan James 20. But by the time, or Harry Wilson as well is 27, like, when these guys come through, your Rubens, your Joels, your Joel Cottrells, all these different players, they're going to be with players who are still quite young, but have got like 50, 60 caps under their belt. And that is so exciting to me. The way Bellamy plays football, it just feels like it could be quite a special era for watching Welsh football. My worry is that in the next 18 months, a football club comes in and offers Craig Bellamy a job he can't turn down.
Yeah, sad thought that. Yeah, you've scared me now. You've spooked me, Si.
If Vincent Tan wasn't the owner of Cardiff City, I would genuinely be worried that they would chuck a load of money at him and say, come work for Cardiff as manager. I think that ship sailed for the time being because of the owner and stuff. But like, my worry is that he's already impressed. And with this crop of young players coming through as well, it feels like Wales are only going to get better in the way he likes to play football.
100%, mate. I mean, I'd like to think, I'd hope somebody wouldn't take a punt on him at, like, I know he's done really well in 4 games, but I don't think he's done enough personally yet to warrant anything.
But that's what I mean. Like in 18
in
months.
the future, yeah. Like, say if he qualifies for the World Cup, right? And we go and we do okay, we give half decent account of ourselves. As a Welsh manager, what more can you do, Si? Like, you've just taken us to a World Cup. Like, in 2 years. Genuinely, as okay, winning is better, but we ain't gonna win it. We know that. So it's like one
Well,
more.
Chris
That's
Coleman
probably
nearly won the Euros. Come
nearly
on.
won the Euros. Yeah, okay, but like I take that. I do. But ultimately, if you're Bellamy and you take Wales to the World
Yeah,
Cup and we have a good campaign, we get to the quarters. Let's say that is an unbelievable success for him.
of course
And
it
then,
is.
like you say, a Premier League club comes in and goes, we'll give you, we'll give you a 3-year contract at manager Brian. Like,
I made the
how would you
one.
say no to that?
Yeah, my one, like
Liverpool,
Liverpool,
yeah.
like he won't turn that down. He's a
No chance.
lifelong Liverpool fan. He's been very
Yeah,
open about that, and that's the job. But obviously, at the moment, that's not going to be a possibility. But ultimately, if he gets a job like Liverpool, that means he's done an exceptional job for Wales.
unbelievable job. Yeah,
You can't knock it. But obviously, as a Welsh fans, we're like, well, this is the start. I want to see him build a dynasty. But there is, unfortunately, or maybe there's not, mate. Maybe, like, we think that there's a ceiling on what you can do as a Wales manager, but maybe with the talent that's so deep and young now, maybe there isn't a ceiling anymore, and maybe in 10 years' time we'll be talking about like competing. I don't know. It's impossible to say, I guess, but because you never know what young players are going to turn into and how good they're going to be. It's certainly exciting to watch, though, mate.
oh, exciting, man.
So this is the end of our Welsh coverage for this international break on Cardiff City World, and we're almost going to say goodbye to Harry for a little bit, but I think we'll have a chat and see if we can, I don't know, maybe work something out or do something. We'll work some. I don't know. We'll save
Work
that
some magic.
But obviously, you'll be back for the next international break. The podcast will be back for the next international break, which I believe is November the 10th to the 18th.
Something around that. Yeah.
My birthday on the 11th as well. So,
Perfect timing.
The wife will be thrilled that I'm filling it up with podcasts. But there we go. It's going to be exciting. Let's talk about those games that will be coming up, because I'll tell you what, Med, it's been so good and so impressive that I'm looking at Iceland at home and Turkey away, and I think, well, we could win those. Now, isn't that mad? Like, just as a Welsh fan, with all the hurt and history, that there's enough positivity still that I believe that we could still go and beat those two teams.
Mate, it's mad. It is
Do you
mad.
agree? Do you agree that we can win those games?
It's a tough one, mate, because I know we're not going to see the same Turkey side that we drew 0-0 to in that first game. In that, like, they've got players back. They've won 3 on the bounce, by the way, which is quite scary. Although the last game they played, they ended up winning it quite late on the way to Iceland, 4-2. Arda Güler, Real Madrid player. Like, do you know what I mean? There's levels to their squad. Hakan Çalhanoğlu, like, they've got big players, which we made ineffective. So I'm not saying like we should be scared of them, but I am a little bit worried in that, like, they are in good form in that, they won 3-3 now. 4 weeks time,
Turkey
they could have a
away
couple of
as well. Turkey away is a hard game.
But you asked me the question last time: are you taking a point though away to Turkey?
Yeah, definitely.
Got it, haven't you? Got it.
Yeah, if we take 4 points from those next 2 games, there's a very good chance we qualify. Obviously, we'll finish second in the group.
Yeah.
Happy days, mate. I think
days.
Iceland are beatable. I think, if I'm being honest, I think we should have beaten Iceland Friday. And I don't blame any one individual for that. It's just, I think it was a combination of things. One thing I would like to see us learn the lesson of is yellow cards. We picked up some silly yellow cards against Iceland. And ultimately, has Ampadu being out, for instance, for the Iceland game away, has that cost us? And again, I'm not blaming him. I'm just saying that those absences cost you, because, Brennan Johnson's was out, Jordan James out. That could have cost us against Montenegro. Like, Montenegro created a couple of half chances. So maybe, if we didn't have the experience of Joe Allen to bring in on Monday, would they have opened us up like Iceland did? So do you know what I mean? Like, all I'm saying is that these silly yellow cards, we have to learn from it. International football, don't get sucked into the
games.
the bickering and the silliness, because all teams do it. All teams do it.
100%.
Is it the Turkey?
Yeah.
I think it's the Turkey game first, isn't it?
Turkey game first. I saw Ben Davies say in his interview that he prefers an away game first because of the travelling. Like, you can do your rest day as a travel day, so it makes it's just a bit nicer for them apparently. So yeah, we've got it in the right way round. Away game first. Let's get a positive point at least away to Turkey. I think I would bite your hand off for a point now in Turkey's form. If they were still not in great form like the first game we played them in, then and maybe I would have expected a win, which is mad, but I would take a point and then we go. I know, and then we go and show Iceland what we're about.
Yeah,
tell you what, mate.
I know how he lines up.
Yeah, I think I'd be shocked if we didn't go. I'd be shocked if he didn't go back five there with like Cabango, Davis, Roden, and then like Nico one side, maybe Storber the other, or maybe Connor Roberts. I think he'll go defensive in the most attacking way possible. He'll go quite defensive, if that makes sense.
Here's a quick question then for you before we finish. Would you play if let's assume he's going to go like a traditional five at the back sort of thing, like you just said?
Yeah,
you just said your three centre backs. Would you play Nico Williams plus Norrington Davis, Storber Thomas? Would you play Connor Roberts? So I would play Nico on one side and Norrington Davis on the other side if he proves his fitness in between.
I can't disagree with you, mate. I'm not a big fan of Connor Roberts personally. I don't think he's as good as Nico at all. If we're talking right back for right back, we've obviously seen how good Nico is, and I'm not saying Roberts is a bad footballer, but he just doesn't have the qualities. He just can't recover as well for me as Nico can. Bellamys speaks about that a lot. Nico's not rapid or anything, but the way he recovers, his long legs, he kind of just gets in the way and seems to recover a bit better than Roberts does personally. And in possession, I think they're quite similar. I'd probably argue Nico's got a better delivery. And he's got a bit more of like that X factor, which you don't need from a right back, but like he's got it, which is why he's playing Premier League football, right? It's obvious.
Cool, yeah.
So 100% agree with you. I don't know who should play left wing back, because we haven't seen Norrington Davis for a while, and I'm not saying he's not up to it, but we haven't seen him. I'm not in love with Wes Burns or Storber Thomas being there, but I think in some way, if you've got Nico on the right, could you play not that Nico's not attacking, because he really is, but if we had Nico on the right and played three legit centre-backs in Cabango, Ben Davis as the left centre-back to cover whoever's playing left wing-back, could it be Storber Thomas there? Could it be Wes Burns? I think there's an argument to say maybe.
Yeah, Owen back as well, yeah.
So with the fantasy football stuff I do, I know we haven't mentioned it too much today, we don't need to, but I've been I own these digital football cards basically, and I've had Owen Beck since he was at Scotland and got a massive plaudits in Dundee. So I'm all in on Owen Beck if you want me to be. If he gets the chance, I've seen it for a year and a half now. I know he hasn't played too much for Blackburn. He just got sent off, which was not ideal. But at Dundee, he literally won Player of the Year. He got into Team of the Year in a Celtic and Rangers league. Do you know what I mean? That ain't easy to do, mate, as we know. So to play for Dundee and do that, I'm telling you, we know. I know he's the real deal.
Yeah, I think once he gets his opportunity on our left-hand side for Wales, I think he'll make it his own, much like Nico has kind of cemented his place. Harry, as always, mate, absolute pleasure. We'll have a little chat and we'll sort something out. But obviously, we'll be back in the November international break with the Cymru and Byth podcast. Obviously, for Cardiff City fans, we're all Cardiff City now, 7 days a week, back to that. We do like to cover a bit of Wales during the international breaks. Got 2 videos dropping on Cardiff tomorrow, one about the manager situation and one about Ruben Colwell, actually. So we're all full into Cardiff, and then obviously we'll have a Cardiff City preview on Friday. So do check it out. But Harry, it's been a pleasure, mate. Thank you for your time.
Appreciate you, mate. We have forgot one thing, though, Si.
Go on.
The questions.
Oh, yes. Go on. Have you got them? Have you done them? Go on,
yeah,
fly through them.
So, first question. Do you know how many goals Bellamys scored for Wales?
I forgot about it, so I didn't even look at anything.
Give you three guesses. Give you 3 guesses.
I'm going to guess, so I'll go 29.
No.
Higher or lower?
Lower.
Yeah. 18.
Very close. Like stupidly close.
Oh. 17.
No. One
Should've
more
gone
than
the other
18.
way. Oh, damn
Yeah.
it. I was going to go 19 as well. The third, like, I said
Close,
39, 29. Sorry, I was going to go 19 because
Yeah.
I had a feeling there was a 9 in there. Damn it. Right, go on.
Youngest ever goal scorer for Wales?
Oh,
Who
I
was it?
should know this one because I literally was looking at the young players. Don't think Harry Wilson scored when he was like 16, 17. So I'm going to go with Gareth Bale. But I think it will.
Ooh, you got it. You got it.
Yes, go on.
17
Finally, I'm
years and
glad I got
23
one.
days. Yeah,
Glad I
1
got
out of
one.
2. Final question to end the pod. At which ground have Wales played most games at? Like home ground, if that makes sense.
So would you count the Cardiff Arms Park and the Millennium Stadium as separate entities in
I
that?
think they were separate, yeah. In the stats I saw, they were separate.
So I've got to go, like it must be, I was going to say it's got to be Cardiff Arms Park, but actually it might be Ninian Park because they played a lot of games back then in like the 70s
It was
or 80s.
close. It was close, but it's neither of them.
Wrexham's ground.
Yeah, I was going to say think North Wales. Wrexham, the racecourse. I was going to say here, 93 games I think they played there.
Wow.
I don't know.
Wow.
I was quite shocked at that personally, but
yeah, like the initial thought is like Cardiff Arms Park, but then I was
right.
like, they played a lot of Ninian Park, the racecourse as well, obviously. So
I think Ninian was second or third, if I remember rightly.
Yeah. So
One
do I
out of three.
get that racecourse point then? No, I did. I guess Wrexham. That was my final answer. Surely.
All right, I'll give you a 2 out of 3. We're level. We're level. We're level after 2.
Flagged an extra point. I can't remember. How many did you have last week? You got 2 as well.
2, yeah.
So there we go. We'll roll them over each time. So it's my go next time. 2 all well remembered, mate, because I was just about to wrap us up without doing it. There we go. Yeah, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. It'll be available for download straight after and stuff. So appreciate you. Nice one, mate.
Yeah, all the best, mate, and catch you very soon.
Indeed. In a bit.